Today we are at Mining Indaba in Cape Town Convention Center. Mining Indaba edition 2026. We are joined by the CEO and the leader, Ms. Sthembiso Dlamini, who will take us through from the economic zones and the objectives of the Gauteng government of joining this Mining Indaba. Ms. Dlamini, thank you for joining us on BRICS Africa Channel.
Thank you for having us.
Please take me through what's going on this year.
So for us as Gauteng, I mean, we have a keen interest in what is happening at the Mining Indaba. This property, we all know that is got a global convening power. If you look at what has been happening since morning, it's got the ability to bring in global leaders, global capital, policymakers, investors, mining companies, and those that are within the value chain of mining into one room. And as Gauteng, you do know that we're called the place of gold.
Sure.
We have developed, against a backdrop of mining then. But right now, we don't do a lot of mining, as you would know. However, this is an important sector for us because we do know that globally, issues around minerals is playing an important role, particularly in the energy transition that all of us are trying to do so that we're sustainable. But also as Gauteng, our interest is around also in the automotive space, especially in the battery manufacturing for electric vehicles, because we're known as that automotive hub. So I think for us, really, is coming into the Mining Indaba to say to investors and the players, Gauteng is open for business. We are looking to obviously support our medium, small businesses as well within the, across the value chain. We've got our special economic zones, which we think can work well in terms of further processing of these minerals that are obviously coming from various areas in our country as well as out of the country. We are well poised because logistically we are at a center, we're a landlocked province with a special economic zone, particularly OR Tambo, which I want to focus on. It's next to an airport, and next to a distribution center or distribution hub. Already we have tenants there within the mineral space. So meaning we have now gotten a bit of a headway in terms of dealing with the space. So that's what we're here for. And I think it came at a good time because as a province, on the 9th to the 10th of April, we'll be hosting the second installment of the Gauteng Investment Conference, which will be held in Johannesburg. That's when we're now calling for investors to say Gauteng is open for business, it's open for investment. We've got a couple of projects that are ready for investment. So, over and above engaging the mining sector itself and its value chain, we're here to really leverage the global attendance that is here, global delegates and global investors to say there is an upcoming Gauteng Investment Conference where we'll be welcoming investors from across the globe really to come and see what's happening in Gauteng.
Today, Minister Mantashe made reference to the 21 critical minerals. Mm-hmm. And I asked myself, how aligned are you policy-wise and also with a special zone of sorts for these minerals, as you're saying that you are moving up to be the critical hub for processing of all these minerals, regardless of where they're coming from. Yeah. Please take us through on your policy decisions in making sure, ensuring that the special purpose zones can really be the wind behind the 21 critical minerals that the minister is talking about.
Okay. So of course, the economic zone, economic zones have got their special incentives that are put in place, and this is obviously a country policy which is driven from the DTIC, which all of us as provinces who have special economic zone have to go through, and the application process, and obviously the benefits of operating out of a special economic zone. So for us, whilst we take the policy directive from at national level, we have really proven ourselves as a province. Right now, like I said, the OR Tambo Special Economic Zone is functional. In fact, Precinct 1 is now fully operational with tenants. We're now building a good pipeline for our Precinct 2. What we're saying there is aligned to the national policy around operating at a special economic zone. We're calling for the investors to look at Gauteng as that destination that already has got those special economic zones happening. We also have the Vaal area. We have now, starting with bulk infrastructure, in the Vaal, SEZ. We've got also an upcoming one in the West Rand, our West Rand SEZ. We're still doing pre-designation work, and we're hoping that that we'll be able to expedite that. That becomes another opportunity because we can call in investors to already start looking at the West Rand SEZ to operate from, where we're looking at things like green hydrogen and alternative energy projects that we're dealing with. We also have got Lanseria, smart and high-tech SEZ that is coming up. We're also doing pre-designation work on that, which simply means that as Gauteng, we're best positioned if we've got these 4 big SEZs that we're running. It is opportunity for a lot of investors to be operating in that space because they now get to tap into some of the incentives that exist with you operating, or a company or an investor operating out of a special economic zone. But over and above that, that as a province, driving economic activity in townships becomes important. So as the economic development, we've got industrial parks that are largely in our townships that really needs refurbishment so that we can start attracting economic activities back into our township. When you and I were growing up, these industrial parks were quite functional. And a lot of people in our townships, in our communities, worked and lived around these industrial parks. So we are working very hard to look at how do we refurbish this so that these investments do not end up just in urban area. Of course, we're a city region, but we want to ensure that we anchor economic projects in our township so that we revitalize our township economy.
Dlamini, in China, your BRICS partner, we witness how they organize these special economic zones. Now I ask myself, I know Roslyn, one can say, is an automotive industry space. People who work there, people who live around there, if you need something, you can go around the corner, you'll find it. I'm asking, what is the one in the smart city? Will it be electronic special zones? What will be the one? What will be the differentiator with the one that is in OR Tambo? Are they really sector focused, or you have picked off each and everything? How do you model these?
So we've tried by all means. With OR Tambo, that the issues around, like I said, mineral beneficiation and high, it's an area of which is aligned more to what is happening at Mining Indaba. But also OR Tambo was earmarked largely for the pharmaceuticals, that's the next precinct. And the team is working hard. I think as a GGDA, one of the things that we had said we'll do, we're now beginning to grow that pipeline and say, who do we speak to from an investor point of view to realize that? So the smart city or high-tech special economic zone of Lanseria will be just that. The example that you gave, where people would live but work as well, in there we're anchored by Lanseria International Airport, which means that there is a huge capability around the logistics. They're actually expanding their cargo capacity, which says if you're operating in there, you've got the workforce because people will be able to live there. You've got, by the way, it's next to the cradle of humankind. So you've got the tourism element,
Place to stay as well.
place to stay, a place to, for leisure, but also, high tech in a sense that we're earmarking, things like your data center, big data centers around, that space. So when we engage with investors, we look for those investors that are in the innovation space, technology space, data centers space. Of course, other sectors, other subsectors can come in, but that's what we want to anchor, the special economic zone of Lanseria to.
I know it's the first day, but what is the appetite? Are you going to be signing any deals anytime soon this week?
So, with that, we're still in our pre-designation stage, but it doesn't mean that we're not engaging with investors. We are trying. I mean, this Mining Indaba is not the only platform that we're engaging these potential investors. Just late in January, we were in Davos. We attended the World Economic Forum. We've met a couple of investors that are quite interested. We were also in Italy meeting a lot of investors, particularly in the manufacturing space, that are interested in operating in our special economic zone. But one of the things that was so interesting is that a lot of people that we've met, or potential investors that we've met, really showed keen interest in terms of expansion into the continent, which is at the heart of what we're trying to do and of our strategy for Gauteng Investment Conference. So we're taking a much more pan-African approach, where we're saying if you invest in Gauteng, you basically get that gateway approach into the continent. So if you are investing here, you're in the manufacturing, we're able to really assist you to get into the continent, really riding on the African Continental Free Trade Area and making it a lived reality. We have started engaging ambassadors from various countries in South Africa, and part of the work that we're doing for the investment conference is to invite subnational ministers that are responsible for both finance and economic development, so that they're part of the discussion. One of the things that we also are going to be doing is to resuscitate our IPA investment promotion agencies around the continent, so that we begin to share notes and talk about how do we then grow investment, trade and investment in the continent, and how do we work together to continue attracting fresh capital into the continent with the projects that we have. So for us, whilst we would have loved to sign deals, but the fact that we're here, we're saying we're open for business, it says to the investor, it actually gives that investor confidence in the province that we are where the conversations are happening. And therefore we'll be able to go back and say, how do we then position ourselves as Gauteng to leverage some of the conversations that have been happening and some of the interactions we've had here at the Mining Indaba.
Well, you're well suited because you're based in Gauteng, and all the embassies of Africa are here. President Mantashe again was talking about the approach. It needs to be an African approach rather than the normal competition between countries. And I think you're quite right to say that Africa 2030 can only happen when everyone knows the main city in Africa is Johannesburg.
It's Johannesburg,
so
indeed.
The infrastructure is there for making things to happen.
Indeed.
Just lastly, in this Mining Indaba, there's also, I've seen like some mining, junior miners. What is it that are you positioning for the youth, especially as incentives, and as well as the BRICS ambassadors that are also based in Gauteng, to say that you as BRICS ambassadors bring your investors here to this province, and this is what we guarantee in your special economic zones.
Remember earlier on I said, whilst we're no longer in the mining is no longer happening as much as it used to then. If you look at the province, we host the biggest financiers who finance these mining operations. We host the biggest legal firms that really are responsible for the structuring of some of the deals that are happening. So and we host some of the manufacturers of mining machinery in Gauteng. So whilst mining is not happening in Gauteng, we are very much a strategic partner in the value chain of mining. And one of the things that we all often talk about in the province is how do we ensure that small businesses, but also those that are owned by the youth, have the foot on the door when it comes to being part of the value chain, part of the supply chain of of equipment, of things that are required.
So this will connect the township economy.
Absolutely, absolutely. So hence the linkages to the industrial parks which are in the township, because some of us being here is understanding what sort of products are they looking for mining operations, that we can now begin to actually impart skills and knowledge and then build that capacity to manufacture some of these products for mining. Even particularly mines in the continent, as opposed to all the time continent importing some of these products that are required to run mining operations. So I think it's an important role that we play as a province. And we're also saying if we now focus, with our focus on economic infrastructure, whether it's rail, whether it's to enhance our logistics capability, it's very important, because whatever minerals are being expropriated somewhere else, we are the center of processing. We want to actually position ourselves as that center for processing. Earlier on, the president of Zambia was saying, gone are the days where this continent must now export raw materials. We must start looking as a continent, how do we actually retain these minerals and make sure that we process them, because that's when you start developing other subsectors across the value chain. So for me, that was the biggest takeaway, to say we can do it. We can no longer sit here and say we don't have the financial resources. We can put the plans and look at the financiers to say this is our plan and we would like you to help us, as opposed to financiers coming into the continent and saying this is the plan, let's implement the plan. In fact, he gave an example. He says it's no longer for us, for them in Zambia, it's not an IMF program for Zambia. It is a Zambia program for the IMF. So it is that mental shift or mindset shift in ensuring that the continent retains and process its own minerals so that it begins to beneficiate small businesses, but also communities that live around it. I think that was the key takeout, that in fact Africa is open for business, but Africa must do business with Africa, because the capacity is in the continent.
Mr. Dlamini, thank you for joining us on BRICS Africa Channel. As we know that Gauteng Development Agency is responsible for activating the 2030, not just in conversations, but it says it's open for business. So please come and make sure you benefit to the incentives that they have with the special economic zones. Thank you so much.